Okay, the opener has now made it 20% effective stacks. So when it gets back to the three better, okay, the three better can't raise this. Okay, he can't five bet them because stacks are not big enough. Okay, the biggest, the biggest this guy that three bet, the biggest that he could raise to without going past the 30% threshold is 150. Now, the opener only made it 20% of effective stacks. So now the three better has the three options. He can fold, he can flat, or he can shove. He can't raise to a smaller amount. He has to either shove, flat, or fold. But if the four better had raised to 150, flatting becomes no longer an option. Okay, you can't flat even in position when your opponent has made it 30% effective stacks or more. So what you should do in your mind is, as soon as a player makes a pre-flop bet that converges upon this 30% effective stack mark, is just pretend like they've made an all-in shove and react accordingly. Okay, now, online players that play in 100 big blind games, you would do okay if you did nothing but learn the 100 big blind theory. But live players and people who play in deeper stacks online, it's not enough just to remember these numbers. About opening for 3 or 4, three betting, and then going 2.5 times. It's to know the principles upon which they are based, and what they're based on is not going beyond 30% effective stacks. Okay, when you're the four better, don't go beyond 30% effective stacks. You're almost tying yourself to the pot. And when you're faced with a bet that is 30% stacks or more, you should be in a fold or shove situation. You should not consider raising your opponent to an amount smaller than a shove unless you can do so without going beyond 30% effective stacks. Now we're going to go on to the next concept. Okay, now so far in the 2-bet, 3-bet, 4-bet dynamic, the only range we've really talked about is the range of the original opener, which this may not be your exact range, but we've just put together a sample range in attempting to make a polarized range, and we made it exactly 100 hands simply so that we could work easily with percentages. If we need to defend 30%, we can easily count 30 hands out of our 100 hand range, etc. But anyway, we have the 2 and 5 blinds, and we have the original opener opens up for 20, and we have a 3-better who has position on, we'll say the cutoff, raises it up to 60. Okay, he's made a pot size raised, the cutoff is raised into 3x. Now we've already gone over again and again the price that the opponent is laying and the frequency that we need to call. Okay, what we're going to do for right now is we're going to look at things from the 3-better's point of view. Okay, he suspects that the original opener is opening up with a wide range, so he's going to 3-bet them not only with premium hands but with some bluffs as well. What we're going to do here for the 3-better is not only figure out the ratio of value bets to bluffs, but we're also going to talk about what would be the best hands for him to use as bluffs. Okay, now, if there's only one concept that you come away with from all of these videos as far as pre-flop goes, I want it to be for you to get the rationale beyond, that lies behind the value bet to bluff ratio. And what it always is, and this is both pre-flop, post-flop, all the time, when you're betting at a pot with a range that includes some value bets and some bluffs, the minimum amount of your range that has to constitute value bets, and by value bet I mean a bet that can stand up if re-raised, okay, has to match up well with the price that your opponent would be getting on a rebluff. We've gone through this a couple of times. This will be the last time, hopefully. But on this particular one, we've 3-bet him to 60. When we do this, the money that is lying on the table is our 60, this $20 here, and this $7 here. That's going to create $87 in the pot total. If he 4-bets us to 2.5 times this, he will be making $150. Since he already has $20 in the pot, it cost him $130 to repop us. Now, it's going to cost him $130, and the amount of the money that is in the pot is going to be 87. And you see here, his break-even threshold is 59%, 59.9, roughly 60%. That means that if he comes over the top, when we bet him, if he comes over the top for $150, okay, in order for his bluffs to make an automatic profit, he needs us to fold 60% of the time, 59.9% of the time. Now, what this means is that when we make our 3-bet, our 3-betting range, we have to have at least 40% value. Now that will be optimal. That will make us indifferent. Some of you may want to have more value than that. You might have decide to have 50% value, 50% bluffs, or 60% value. But the very minimum amount of value that you can get away with is 40%. And this should be easy to see after we've gone over this all these times. Okay, if you do not have at least 40% of your range that can stand up to a 3-bet, to a 4-bet, that means that your opponent, after you 3-bet, could 4-bet you with any 2 cards. Okay, if you only, if only 35% of your range could stand up to a 4-bet, then he would make money. Any 2 cards he had, no matter what they are, he could go ahead and make it 2.5 times, raise that up to $150, and you'd have to fold. You'd only be calling 35% of the time, which means you're folding 65% of the time. And if you're folding anything more than 60% of the time, your opponent makes money on his rebluffs. You want him to be indifferent. You want his bluffs to break even at best. So, when we come up with our range, what we want to do is make sure that we have at least 40% value in it. Now, I'm going to depart from, we're going to construct a range for this 3-betting, but what we're going to do is we're going to do it in a way that screws up our opponent's range here. And we're going to do that using the effect of removal. We're going to use cards that have blockers as our bluffs. Okay? We see our opponent's range here. He has 6 combinations of pocket aces, 6 combinations of pocket kings, 6 total combinations of ace-king. If we choose carefully the cards that we want to 3-bet bluff with, we can use blockers that rearrange this configuration, and it screws him up. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop this right now so I can put together a little demo on the effects of card removal. And we're going to use a blackjack game to illustrate the point. I'm going to explain the effects of removal. If blackjack players usually use the term effects of removal, poker players usually use the term blockers. It means the same thing. If you have a couple of cards that interfere with the hand that your opponent is trying to make, that's effective removal. In poker, we usually call them blockers. But I'm going to show how we put together a value range, a bluff range, and manipulate his range so that he's not calling with the same percentage that he thinks he is. So I think that we've now done 3 additional videos. This should be numbers 19, 20, and 21. We probably will have about another 4 or 5 videos on pre-flop before I go into flop betting and post-flop betting and what the optimal betting ramp should be. Okay, so that's all for right now, and we'll continue on the next video with card removal.